The ocean is a great source of food that can be truly enriched. Today, we're going to follow the movements of fishermen fishing for lobster on the high seas. And we'll also follow a traditional aquaculture scheme. In lobster farming, where a tank structure is used so that the crustaceans develop well. Let's start our journey. The day is starting to dawn. All too soon, the boat sets sail. The sun has barely risen over the horizon, tinging the sky with golden and orange hues. The smell of the sea and the sound of the waves breaking on the boat's hull mark the start of another hard day's work. The fishermen are already on their feet, preparing and checking their traps. Each fisherman is trying to make the most of the current lobster fishing season because they know that every trip out to sea is a valuable opportunity. Lobster is one of the most prized foods in the world, appreciated for its refined flavor and high commercial value. From its birth in the oceans or in aquaculture systems until it reaches the consumer's table, it goes through a long and meticulous process. That involves science, technology, and a highly sophisticated global distribution chain. This crustacean, the symbol of the world. Unlike other marine species, lobsters can live for decades and continue to grow throughout their lives, making them a real fishing treasure. However, behind this impressive longevity lies a risky secret that defines the future of the species. The reproduction cycle of lobsters takes place when the female molts her shell, a process that makes her vulnerable for a short period, during which she mates and stores the male's sperm. In the common process, the female releases pheromone, and the male continues the cycle by depositing sperm into the female. Fertilization takes place later when the female deposits the eggs under her abdomen, where they will remain for between 6 and 12 months before hatching. Depending on the species, a single female can carry between 5,000 and 100,000 eggs. But the survival rate of the larvae is extremely low. This is the period during which the eggs develop, and the female releases them soon afterwards. You can see these eggs developing near the crustacean's fins. Soon after hatching, the larvae emerge and float on the ocean's surface for a few weeks. Still tiny and fragile, they hunt for small prey floating around them. In a laboratory experiment, lobster larvae at different stages of development are seen feeding on prey, revealing fascinating details about their behavior and growth. Less than 1% of hatched lobsters reach this stage. To survive, they take shelter in crevices or among coral reefs, where they try to hide from predators. When they reach the juvenile stage, they migrate to the seabed and adopt a more reclusive behavior, hiding among rocks and crevices to avoid predators. While in the wild, they need to hide to survive. In a controlled environment, it is possible to ensure that they reach adulthood. Rearing lobsters in tanks and marine enclosures is a sustainable alternative that is gaining ground in the production of these crustaceans. This method allows control of feeding, growth, and environmental conditions, ensuring much higher survival rates compared to the wild. The number of lobsters that can be raised in a marine tank depends on the ideal amount per space, which varies according to the size and species of the lobsters. For juveniles, around 200 lobsters per square meter is recommended. As they grow, this amount should be reduced to approximately 35 individuals per square meter. Undoubtedly the safest way for newborn lobsters to reach adulthood, contributing to the preservation of the species and increasing supply on the market. However, growth in captivity is slower than in the ocean, and it can take up to 7 years to reach a commercial size due to the reduced availability of space and the more stable environment, which reduces the need for accelerated growth for survival. Now comes the most fascinating part: deep-sea fishing. While lobsters farmed in captivity grow slowly, in the ocean, they face challenges that drive faster growth. The average size of a lobster caught in the ocean varies between 450 grams and 1.5 kilos, depending on the species and region. To ensure that only lobsters within the permitted size are sold, fishermen use special rulers to measure the length of the carapace, the front part of the lobster's body. This practice is essential because the size of the carapace indicates the maturity of the lobster. Below the established minimum size means that they have not yet reached the reproductive stage. Lobsters that are not yet mature are returned to the sea. This control is essential for the sustainability of the fishery and the preservation of lobster populations. Larger lobsters, over 2 kilos, are rarer and highly prized. They can fetch considerably high prices on the gourmet market. The fishing season usually runs from May 1st to October 31st. Fishermen start the season looking for the best location to fish, often using advanced technology such as GPS and sonar to map out the places with the highest concentration of lobsters. To catch the best lobsters, fishermen use traps known as cages or manzuas. These traps are strategically positioned near reefs and underwater structures, places where lobsters usually take shelter. After the waiting period, the fishermen return to the site to collect the traps. The vessels used can vary from smaller boats operated by traditional fishermen to large ships equipped for industrial fishing. After setting the bait and throwing the traps overboard, the fishermen wait for a period that can vary from a few hours to several days, allowing the lobsters to be attracted and trapped. When it comes to collecting the traps, the fishermen use hydraulic winches to help pull the traps from the seabed. Once opened, the fishermen quickly check the size and condition of the lobsters. Those that have not yet reached the adult stage and those with eggs are returned to the sea. As well as checking the size and maturity of the individuals, they also identify the females carrying eggs. These females are tagged and returned to the sea to continue the reproductive cycle. This ensures that they have the opportunity to grow up and contribute to the continuity of the species. While fishing for lobsters on the high seas and removing their traps from the waters, fishermen often spot divers exploring the seabed, where they turn catching lobsters into a challenging and fascinating hobby. Some divers prefer to catch them with their bare hands, exploring the underwater crevices where these crustaceans hide. Others use harpoons, making fishing a real sporting challenge. Unlike commercial fishing, these practices are more recreational and require skill, patience, and knowledge of the marine environment. Meanwhile, the fishermen continue to concentrate on removing their traps, carefully removing the live lobsters. Lobsters caught alive are stored in saltwater tanks. In order to maintain the quality and freshness of the lobsters, the vessels are equipped with water circulation systems that replicate the natural habitat conditions of these crustaceans, minimizing stress and preserving their taste and texture. In this way, handling during capture and transportation is fundamental to ensuring that the lobsters reach the end consumers in perfect condition. To make transportation easier and prevent the lobsters from hurting or damaging each other, it is common to secure their claws with rubber bands or ties. This practice also protects the fishermen from possible pinching during handling. During their long journeys, which can exceed 10 days away from the coast, these professionals face unpredictable storms and adverse weather conditions, putting their physical and emotional endurance to the test. Lobster fishing is an activity full of challenges for fishermen who venture out onto the high seas. Facing giant waves is one of the biggest challenges for lobster fishermen. During storms, the sea becomes extremely rough, with waves that can reach gigantic heights, making fishing a risky activity. In these circumstances, keeping the boats balanced is an arduous task. The constant rocking caused by the waves makes it difficult to maintain the stability needed to handle the fishing equipment. In addition, setting and retrieving lobster traps requires precision and care, processes that become even more complex and dangerous when carried out in the midst of a raging sea. After challenging days on the high seas, facing adverse conditions and exhausting journeys, the fishermen return to the port with their precious catch, live lobsters. Upon arriving at the port, the fishermen begin the process of unloading the lobsters. The first step is to empty the water from the compartments where the animals have been transported. Once draining is complete, the live lobsters are carefully removed from the tanks on board and transferred to dry areas in the port. They are then placed in suitable transport crates, preserving their quality until their final destination. The carrying capacity of medium-sized vessels can be between 500 and 8,000 kilos of lobsters per trip, depending on factors such as the size of the vessel, fishing conditions, and the efficiency of the operations on board. When they arrive at the factory, the lobsters are unloaded and immediately weighed for registration. Each one is carefully inspected for vitality. Those that don't meet the quality standards are separated. Due to the significant weight of the boxes containing the lobsters, specialized equipment is used to help move them. This includes manual winches with ropes. These allow the heavy boxes to be lifted and moved safely and efficiently. When fishing for lobsters, on a large scale, it is important to handle the catch well in order to maintain the quality of the product and the safety of the team. As the boxes containing large quantities of lobsters are heavy, the fishermen use winches. Approved lobsters are transferred to tanks containing seawater, where parameters such as temperature and oxygenation are strictly controlled. To guarantee quality, the water in the tanks is constantly monitored and renewed. At the factory, lobster processing can follow different stages. For the production of frozen lobster tails, for example, it all starts with heading, where the tail is separated from the cephalothorax, better known as the lobster's head. This process can be done manually or with equipment, guaranteeing the integrity of the meat. Next comes gutting, which removes the intestinal tract to eliminate impurities and maintain the quality of the product. The tails then go through a rigorous washing process, where they are immersed in chlorinated water within the limits allowed by health regulations. This process removes residues and possible contaminants. Finally, the tails are sorted by size and weight. This ensures uniformity in the batches and meets the demands of the consumer market, offering a standardized, high-quality product. To speed up the process, quick freezing is used, which preserves the texture and flavor of the meat while maintaining its sensory and nutritional characteristics. The frozen tails are packaged in appropriate materials to protect against contamination and physical damage, and labeled according to legal and informational requirements. In addition to the production of frozen lobster tails, the processing also includes the manufacture of lobster meat, following specific steps to guarantee the quality of the product. After removing the head from the tail, the lobster can be subjected to different cooking methods to facilitate the removal of the meat. In some cases, it is quickly blanched in hot water or steam, which helps to loosen the meat from the shell without compromising its texture. This process facilitates extraction, especially in the more delicate parts of the animal, ensuring that the meat is removed with minimal damage. The meat can be removed manually or with specific equipment. The meat from the tail, which is the most prized, is usually extracted manually to ensure greater care in removing the skin. The meat from the claws and joints, on the other hand, requires a more detailed process. The claws are broken with special tools, allowing the meat to be removed without fragmenting it. The joints and legs contain small portions of meat, which are removed by machines that carefully press on the shell. After extraction, the meat undergoes a rigorous inspection to remove fragments of bark or any residue. For products intended for immediate consumption, the meat can be packaged fresh, while the longer-lasting versions are vacuum-sealed, a method that reduces oxidation and extends their shelf life without the need for preservatives. In addition to processed products, many lobsters are also sold whole, maintaining their original structure to meet different markets and culinary requirements. To guarantee maximum quality, they undergo a rigorous selection process, where they are evaluated on criteria such as size, weight, shell integrity, and vigor. It is very important that the lobsters are alive and healthy. After sorting, the selected lobsters are carefully packed in sturdy thermal boxes, interspersed with ice packs, which help to maintain the ideal temperature and preserve their texture and freshness throughout transportation. Another way to avoid stressing the lobsters during transportation is to use styrofoam boxes with rounded holes, which ensure adequate ventilation. Before shipping, the lobsters are given water to help keep them hydrated. Regardless of the type of product, packaged meat, frozen tails, or whole lobsters, everything that leaves the factory undergoes strict quality control. To guarantee food safety, all people who access the production area go through a disinfection system, where their feet are sanitized at points with bleach water, avoiding cross-contamination. After the general inspection, the products are carefully loaded onto refrigerated trucks, ensuring that they arrive fresh and in excellent condition for each vendor. Lobster marketing is one of the most lucrative sectors of the seafood industry, turning over billions of dollars every year. This robust and dynamic market is driven by domestic consumption in countries such as the United States and Canada, as well as growing demand in international markets such as China and Europe, where lobster is a symbol of luxury and gastronomic sophistication. Its high value makes it a highly coveted product, featured in famous restaurants and luxury markets, where it is appreciated by chefs and lovers of good food. With its mild flavor and special texture, lobster has won over seafood fans all over the world, becoming an essential ingredient in sophisticated dishes. Every bite is a unique experience. In addition to being served grilled, boiled, or accompanied by special sauces, lobster can also be used in Oriental haute cuisine, being a noble ingredient even for sushi and sashimi, providing an even more exclusive and refined experience. When it comes to selling lobsters, the price can vary greatly, depending on factors such as the species, the weight, the time of year, and how they are sold. Smaller and younger lobsters tend to be more affordable, while larger and rarer specimens can exceed $100 per kilo, making them some of the most valuable seafood in the world. In this video, we show the entire step-by-step process of lobster farming, from the hard journey of the fisherman braving the open sea, then the manufacturing process, to the refined world of haute cuisine, where lobster is transformed into exuberant and sought-after dishes. I hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment. Your opinion is very important. A big hug, and see you next time.